All right, everyone, good evening. Welcome on in. So, today's stream is going to be a little different. We haven't had to really mess with the hardware side of Petty in quite a while. Mostly because I like the hardware. The hardware development is the expensive part, so anytime we don't have to change it, the better, as far as my ability to pursue the project is concerned, because I don't have a hell of a lot of disposable income. I have more than some people, obviously, but really don't have that much anymore. So what we're going to be doing today is taking pages and pages of notes about the old schematics for the version 1 dev kit that we were showing off last week. That is all bulky and gross. And we are going to start putting in the schematics for a version 2 dev kit. So I'm going to start today with the stuff I know we know for sure how to do. And if we have time later, we're going to start on the new power circuitry, because everything about power is changing. We are giving up. This makes me feel slightly bad because I just bought a bunch of new rechargeable AA's, but we're giving up on using AA's to drive this thing. I'm giving up on using any sort of one-shot consumable battery to drive this thing, and instead what we're doing is using a rechargeable battery on board with its own sort of charging circuit and its own power regulation circuit to keep the rails healthy, keep the battery healthy. And yeah, that's basically the gist of it. So what that's going to mean hopefully anyway, is that we might be able to simplify away the EasyFet. Right now we have a lot of circuitry that we would have to create basically to just sort of automatically turn off or open the circuit to the EasyFet when you're running on battery power. But if I'm right about some of the physics of the rechargeable design, we'll be able to use the USB port that's part of the EasyFet to charge the battery, and then potentially just have like a switch that you throw that opens the circuit for testing. So we'll see how that goes. We're definitely not getting that far tonight. After the design phase, we will have to do the much more annoying fabrication and testing phase, and we're not getting through design in one night because even after we've finished drawing our schematics here, I've got kicad already open for a fresh brand new schematic, but after we've done these schematics here, we still have to go through and do the printed circuit board schematic, and we'll be able to play with like the 3D renders and everything and make sure everything looks right, and we'll check it 8 or 9 times, and then I'll eventually have to put in an order to PCBWay or whoever to make new parts. So I figure we might as well start with the simplest parts first, right? So I'm going to start with the battery, or not the battery, the buttons. There are 4 buttons. Is this working again? Add a symbol. Oh no, it's been a while, has it? Nope. Sure. Basically, I'm just going to end up reproducing this 4 times anyway. I'm just trying to think of the most elegant way to draw this circuit. That makes me happy. Okay. And then we also we need a ground. Nope. Why is this so chunky? All right. And I need a capacitor. Why are you like this? it I don't know, it's crashing or something. Oh, it's crashing because I have a 20,000 symbol library. I love and hate stumbling across old fragments like that. It's a neat little time capsule, but I'm also a very person. Well, exactly, right? Like, I switching from Patch Savage to Patch Arcana was a conscious... You can't hear me. So I'm gonna have to put this in chat as well, but it was a conscious choice. It wasn't just... like, it wasn't just something that I said in order to... it wasn't just something I did because, like, I liked the mystery or the vibe. Really? What if I type ceramic? What do you mean? I must. There we go. Unpolarized capacitor. Thank you. Yeah, sorry. What I was saying is I'm going to answer Gliffy's question, and then I'm going to type it in the chat. It was a conscious choice to change my screen name from Patch Savage to Patch Arcana. That I made for a very deliberate purpose. So getting jump scared with the old name is a little bit like having that invalidated. Wait. Add a global label. Yeah, okay. So the label is going to be called But A, because I'm a child. And I'll place it there, and now we just have to wire everything up. So this is all very simple. And we just need to edit some labels. Value. I wonder if I can type microfarad. Aww. Okay, that's easy enough to fix though. We just move this out of it. Oh, but then we impinge the other way. Alright, fine. We'll move this stuff that way a bit. No impingement. Alright. Now, I'm running against convention and putting the label for this particular switch as A, because when we get to the silkscreen step, I want the buttons to just be silkscreened the button that they're going to be. So this is going to probably end up keeping the convention that the reset button on the board is used to be the device reset for the single board development kit, because why not? Alright, so now we just need kind of a line. And I don't know. Add a wire, add a bus, no. No. Guess add a box is what I want to do. Add a box with the world's least intuitive UI. Text. Control buttons. Alright, so that's easy. That is literally the simplest circuit in the whole design. So let's not get too excitable about having achieved that, and let's move on to the next thing. Which I guess is actually the connectors, which is also pretty simple. On O2 by 10. Top to bottom. Working on the Tamagotchi style board today. Yeah, well, so yes and no. I'm not quite ready to move on to the full, like, all on one board tiny pocket version yet. What I'm doing is I'm taking the very clumsy development kit design and turning that into one board. So it's still basically an Arduino and its hat, but now instead of using 4 hats, it's going to be 1 hat and the the TI launchpad thing. So unfortunately, we're still messing around with like multi-pin or connectors and stuff like that. Soon, we're moving in that direction as quick as I can make it. Yeah, it takes ages. This project started technically in, I think, 2018. Depending on how you want to define started. Like, this is me starting from absolute scratch, too. I had to learn, like, individual bit masks and registers, the whole shebang. But I'm hoping we're not too far off. Like, there's no good reason... If I make this and it works, there's no good reason not to then design the Tamagotchi board basically immediately. I'm not planning on adding any new hardware or anything. I'm just kind of changing... Well, I am changing, like, 2 things. And then if I like the way those changes work on the dev kit, there's no reason not to just start making the pocket board. It would help if I was a little more familiar with kicad's controls sometimes too, but we'll get there. Started off with kicad, or you transplant from an earlier tool? No, I always used kicad. I just was never... I never sort of trained myself on it, if that makes sense. Like, I just never... I've learned each feature as I've needed it, which means I'm not using it very effectively. Fourth one down. And the unfortunate reality is just that's sort of the nature of being a hobbyist. You never really properly learn how to do some of this stuff. Attaches right here. Now, why am I not allowed to type? There we go. Let's see. Like, I'm actually certain that there's got to be a way that I could have defined all these labels in a list and they would have auto-generated themselves. But I mean, it's not the end of the world that I have to do it manually either. Button D. It was actually kind of cool to learn that I can use these labels as actual connection definitions rather than having to, like, draw the wires into the schematic. I don't believe that... No, I need to find a... And I have... This for 3.3/5 volt, I usually use the dedicated power pins, but you have no idea if that's the industry norm. I don't know if it's appropriate to use it here because the power is coming from a different device. Like, you could be entirely right. I did notice that there are power symbols in there. But the 3 volts, I guess it actually technically is being generated on this board. It can come from either. I'll have to think about that. Because, yeah, if it's smart enough to tell that I'm using ground as a, like, generic, then I should be able to take, like, 3 volt 3 The symbols are a little different, but like, why not? Why not? I should treat myself today. Because I have to assume if they're providing if they're providing the notation or the symbol, there's a reason, right? You wouldn't be surprised if the power of pins feed into the design checker. That's a good point too. I want to start using the automation for sanity. I started using it in the last design for at least a sanity check that like everything that should be connected to each other is. It'd be really cool if I could also do some like not actual voltage regulation, but I guess just voltage checking. XCOM in. Oh. Interesting. I have an overloaded pin and I didn't realize I have an overloaded pin. I'm gonna have to double check that later when I... Because it's been working fine for years, so I should really check. But it looks like I have a pin that I thought was tied to ground, tied to a pull-up for one of the buttons, so I should really double check that later. Let's see what else we need. We just need labels. Let's just place labels. I need a label for... Oh, I already have that label, so I guess we'll just put... So this is actually LCD display, which controls whether or not the LCD is actually turned on. Yep. Another one for chip select. Fuck. What is happening? Expansion board CS, or expansion header CS. Then I need one for and another for okay, and then I just need a quick double check that anything that's passing through to the LCD is reflected. Oh, this lighting's horrible. You're never gonna see anything. Yeah, nothing. Okay, so that being the case, I can actually just put in a bunch of no connects. No connects are nice because they, when I feed it to the PCB checker, they're not going to try to attach those to anything. Which is just convenient. Ah. That's actually an interesting point. I'm still gonna place a tag for this signal, but we might not have it anymore. And if we don't have it anymore, we're going to have software changes to make too. Let's try that again. Miso. There we go. So we have button A, B, C, and D. We have Mosey, Miso, the SPI clock itself, chip select for the LCD, chip select for the expansion header. Alert, LEDs A and B. We have the ground on both, which is where it should be. We have 3 and 5 volts on the left, which is where it should be. We have LCD power and LCD display where they should be. We have the debug, mute, low battery, and piezo signal lines, which are all as they should be. All is as it should be. I guess I'll place my no connects and we'll... move on from here. Try and draw another box. Non-trivial, this art of drawing boxes. It's probably not supposed to be done this way. I'm probably supposed to use like sub-schematics that then include my thing as a new schematic, but just Excel headers. So those are included now. From what you can see, if you keep your board 4 layers under, best practices for all the stages can be pretty well ignored. I'm trying to stay on 2 layers, but there's an unmade design decision in this design whether I'm switching the design to be primarily SMD or not. Some of the parts I've spec'd in are through-hole and should be through-hole for like structural stability reasons, but most of what I've done to date could all be replaced with SMD devices, and it'd allow me to make it more compact, which actually suddenly matters. For the dev kit, I'd always sort of resisted doing that because I did not at the time consider SMD to be kind of beginner friendly, and the kits were coming as blank boards that you had to populate yourself. But like, I'm comfortable working with SMD. It doesn't have to be like ultra fine pitch SMD to work. And the most recent version of the dev kit had a pretty fine pitch SMD device on it anyway, because there was no other way that that component is packaged. So if I go with SMD, I can obviously suddenly there's room for, oh, well, let's do 4 layers just to save on the wiring headaches or whatever. But yeah, I hadn't actually decided that. That can't be right. Okay. I'll do the circuit that I know is right and then switch to doing the one that I'm confused about later. So I think I actually have... I do not. Or do I? I might have AST023. I don't. Okay, so I'm gonna just put in speaker. And we'll specify we'll specify the exact speaker later. Actually, I think I can put it in right now if I remember how to edit footprint. Yeah, so somewhere in my library, I believe I have fine SMD pre-populated. You populate everything else yourself. Does seem like quite reasonable PCBA services. Yeah, I've actually not really even looked into PCBA cost. One of the impetuses with this project for me is this is kind of my first electronics project. So for me, it's a learning experience, or at least it's not my first soldering project, and it's not my first like programming project, but it's the first time I've kind of put everything together, designed my own boards, that kind of thing. So I wanted the project, if you got into it with me, like, because the dev kits, until I ran out of them, were for sale on Tindy, and probably will be again. I wanted the dev kit to be something that somebody could put together themselves. Like, it's not just a thing you buy from me and then you clamp it onto the TI part. You can have some handiness in it. I could always offer it both ways, too. Like, it's not a decision I have to make tonight by any stretch of the imagination. I had a very specific buzzer in mind, and I'm never going to find it. Nope. Come on, I thought I pre-downloaded it and everything. I probably did. I'm probably looking right at it. Nope, nope. Alright, well, I don't actually need to solve this problem immediately. It's nice to pre-populate your footprints. You don't have to populate it. Oh, I'm showing you the wrong screen again. Next time I do that, yell at me. Okay, so we need a transistor real quick. Because why build an amplifier when you can just 2N22? Why build an ampulator properly when you can just throw a transistor? Apparently I don't have the exact right transistor symbol either. Nope, not a JFET. NPN? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's NPN. This will serve my purposes for the purposes of defining the circuit. You've actually kind of reminded me I really want to get into I want to start building some more synth boards. I have a few VCOs to finish putting together, but then I don't really, I don't have enough to constitute a working system after that, so... just once. Too clunky to fit into a Eurorack case. Mood? For values of mood, I suppose. By the way, if there are any audio engineers tuned in, don't judge me for or do what I'm doing. What I am currently designing is wrong and incorrect, and should only be done for dumbass toys like this one. It's not fixed frequency, and it is a minor circuit crime, but when I tested it, it worked fine. Obviously, I should actually spec in an op amp. But we're doing the tiniest, dumbest bullshit with PWM at, relatively limited frequencies at relatively low volume. It works fine, but it is wrong. I'm aware that it's wrong. I'm more than happy to let somebody redesign it if they really want to. You can always share it in the Discord if you think you have a better design. I did not have an op amp. I did have a transistor, so I tested using the components available and said, fuck it, good enough. Alright, so now I need... Now I need to commit a different kind of crime. I think I want this. I do want this. Okay, so schematic. There's other circuits that I could design that are simpler, but this is going to be the real head scratcher one. So it's the one we're going to use. It'd be nice to be able to see. All right. LCD X common is supposedly tied to ground, so why would I suppose that when it's not? What did I not include in my notes? X common. Ah, okay, it is tied to ground unless you populate a specific resistor, which I am not populating, so that's why that statement is true. Okay. So I guess now that I've validated that, let's come back over here. This is the header. I'm validating the header, so this is new to the dev kit. But if I go back over to the working cameras, I can show what I'm changing. So one of the boards that we're eliminating is this one. This is a TI sourced board, and it's essentially just some glue electronics for the LCD panel. There's actually, I'm looking at the circuit because I did map it out, and there are, out of everything that's on this board, for you to see, we're effectively just using this header and 2 capacitors. Everything else is either part of this SD card reader that we don't actually have to care about, or like set dressing, basically. So we can pretty easily move on from that to a circuit that I've designed earlier. Where'd my music go? There you go. All right, so I need that connector, and I don't actually know what it is. But I know how to find out. FH12. That's not a good sign. I mean, I could just put in like a 1x10 pin, and then make the footprint correct later, but that's not ideal. I do have like all these connector generics. Connector generic mounting pin. Connector generic shielded. No, it's not a device, it's not an interval, it's not an MCU, it's not a motor. Alright, so yeah, I'll just use one of my like generic connector symbols and we'll write the correct footprint. Connector generic 1x10. Now, why on earth would you think your name gets to be J? Hopefully if I fix this, I fix it forever, but I sort of suspect I won't. All right. And then we'll move it over. And then we'll draw on the circuit. Did they finally add in... Did they finally add in default footprint to schematic symbol linkages? It seemed absurd that it wasn't a feature in the past. I believe they have in the extended symbol library. Like if you install the kicad, your mileage may vary depending on your favorite flavor of Linux. If you install the kicad package and the kicad symbols package through apt, because I'm on a Debian, obviously, you get both. You get like 20,000 symbols, and some of them do have like predefined footprints to match. Part of the reason I obsess over defining the footprints is because I've done at least 2 hardware revisions where I wasn't careful enough about assigning footprints, and I sent myself a design I couldn't use. Like, I sent myself a board that physically did not suit its purpose. So now I'm kind of ornery about it. I don't mean to be, but it is what it is. I need Mosey. Right. Oh, does it really not even actually wire up to MISO? That's kind of hilarious. That makes sense. It wouldn't need that signal for any purpose. It's just interesting data. I absolutely hate that notation, but it's going to make this more legible, so I'm going to keep it. I for whatever reason, I have the firm belief that the arrow and a ground symbol should always point down. Because it's going to the ground. But reasons for everything, right? Boy, I wish I had a smaller symbol for a capacitor. Change symbol. Cap. Hey, well, that's marginally better anyway. I'm going to Oh, this is profoundly annoying. Hold on, there's a better way to draw this. There's gotta be. I'm gonna delete some symbols. Most of these pins are tied to ground. Hi, Miyuki! Welcome on in. Oh, you joined in an ad break, so you probably didn't hear that. I'll try again when the ad's over. No ad here, maybe mobile stops it. Maybe because you joined in the middle of the ad break, you didn't get an ad. Maybe you're a subscriber and I forgot. I'm solving every nerd's favorite problem, which is the most efficient way to arrange lines. You're a patch pleb. You're not a pleb. Yeah, how can I do this? There's a way to do it. There's got to be a way to do it. I'm going to start by moving this kind of up and then over and then up again. Yeah, this music's kind of a bop, eh? So this is another one of those... I found a couple albums this morning that are all like... Somebody made their own kind of D&B music inspired by the music you'd pick up on the PS1, and like, don't get me wrong, growing up as a kid, we had the N64, we had the Dreamcast, but the PS1 was the console. Like, we made a special trip to a town kind of far away to get the get the PS5 for ourselves, or the PS1 for ourselves, and we, like, Dad loved the PS1, so, like, it was kind of his console, it was his baby. So for me, it's got a special, like, that PS1 era kind of thing is just gorgeous. It's something to do with this kick that's happening. It's like snare, hi-hat, kick circuit that we're in. I can't remember what you call it. We were just talking about how I like to make music, and I can't remember what you... There's a term for, like, a drum riff, but it's not riff. Alright. Distractions mode over. Let's try this again. So LCD power... Drum break, maybe. Yeah, that might be what I mean. It's the Powerpuff Girls look. It is actually the Powerpuff Girls look. You're not wrong. That's funny. Oh, this is actually going to be really easy. So, duplicate. Stick that right there. This is kind of a mess, but fuck it. It's a mess. It's a mess on Texas Instruments' official schematic too. So it's the mess we brought to play with. I understand why, on a hardware level, on the hardware level, electronics designs are often very messy. And I understand that. I don't understand why schematics are always such a mess. Okay, so believe it or not, we're basically done with the known. There's just one more kind of set of circuits to design. I'm going to cram them in. Over here, we're going to resize this box. But it's just a couple of quick little LCDs, or LEDs. Won't take no time at all. don't know why this keeps happening. Sometimes text entry boxes just break. Right. So that's good news. This is most of Petty. I've just realized there's a diagram missing. Or not a diagram, but there's a connector missing. Which I have to remember to add in, but I'm not going to break the bank on... Actually, no, I should add it in right now. I was just kind of hoping to not have to add it yet, but that's fine. I need a 6 and I need a 1. This is going to be J4, which should make this J5. Okay, and these are actually really easy to wire up. These are the expansion headers. So let me bring the webcam back. So it might be kind of hard to see because my lighting's a little borkin at the moment. On the current development kit board, there are 2 headers coming right off the edge of the board. One is just the LCD chip select pin. It's really stupid. It's basically only there for me. Nobody else will probably ever use it besides me, but it's there for when I do have video capture working. That's how it works. It's literally, I have a logic analyzer hooked up to these expansion headers, and when the chip select pin for the LCD is hot, my logic analyzer reads the SPI bus the same way the LCD does, and they basically copy each other's homework. And then this other 6-pin is just a quick little expansion bus for what it's going to be on the final toy is just like pin headers on the back, so that if somebody comes along and they develop like an extra pack of scenes, or like a pedometer, a step counter, a CO2 meter, somebody suggested at one point, this is how the new hardware and the old hardware interface with each other. So we just have to define that up real quick, and that's an easy spec to define because I wrote it right on the board. Oop. So what else do we pull? We pull Miso and Mosey. We pull, obviously, the spy clock we'll need. And then there is this pin down here, which is the expansion chip select. That is the chip select pin specifically for polling this bus. None of that is actually implemented in the firmware yet, but you know, we'll get there when we get there. Oh, and you know what? I wired those up upside down. It technically doesn't matter yet. Am I gonna let that bother me? So what matters... What matters is that on the final toy version, the pinout is always the same. No, it matters that it's always the same on the dev kit too. I should make sure I put it in the right orientation. So let's fix that real quick. So we'll just put these back upside down. When I say backwards, it's that I'm comparing it to the existing kit. This arrangement of just like 6 pins next to each other was never meant to be the canonical arrangement. But since some dev kits went out in the wild, I'm gonna at least not... I'm gonna not change it just in case someone I've never heard of has made a cable. You know what I mean? Like, it matters, but it doesn't matter. This is so much faster than doing it before. Using labels is the way to go. I don't know if it's the industry standard, but it honestly should be. It feels like the industry standard looking at the way that like TI formats their schematics. Like if I come back over to the browser window here, we can see that they've basically done the same thing. They've just labeled everything. And then you're expected to jump around the schematic making inferences. Alright, so let's look. Let's see what we've done and make sure that we're getting kind of close. How far off the marking line? That is unnecessary. This is the memory LCD circuit, which we put in. The label style is pretty much in line with US-based hobby suppliers, open source schemers, SparkFun, Adafruit. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. To me, it sort of almost defeats the point of drawing a schematic, but it also, it makes an intuitive kind of sense. It makes each chunk of the schematic as understandable as it could be. I could see places where it would get inappropriate, but for this purpose, I think it works fine. Okay, so we have that one. Battery ruminations, we went on about that at length last week. Okay, so this is This is the speaker circuit, and we did duplicate that, and PRNG hates it, but it works. Maybe on the final toy, if I decide that the audio is like truly miserable this way, because it's not a proper audio signal, right? It's being driven by a PWM square wave. Yeah, square wave. So you've got frequency and duty cycle to play with. But it's not... Isn't bad audio part of the charm of that era? Yeah, that's true too. Like the Tamagotchi beeper, I'm pretty sure, is fixed pitch. Or if it's not, they really only used one note. And then, like, what else worked this way? The Dreamcast VMU also had a shitty cheap speaker in it, or like a piezo buzzer or something. So I think it'll be fine. But this circuit is fucked. We can't use this circuit anymore, which is a shame because it's an important circuit. This one, I'm gonna break this webcam. We went backwards to take pressure off the cable. So this circuit is the existing dev kit. So the one I was just flashing around. This is the... It's not called a buck converter. TI calls it, I think, an electron pump. But it's essentially a voltage regulator, so it's getting roughly 2.4 volts in from the rechargeable AA's. Don't ask. Stepping it up. Yeah, it gets supply in on 2 pins. And then it steps it up to 3.3 volts based on the way I've programmed it with some capacitors. And then there's a voltage divider that I did not document. Because I just said has to be recalced. But there's a voltage divider here that, yeah, it's like a boost converter, but it's not. I think it can also step down. It's essentially a boost converter, and the main thing separating it from a regular boost converter is based on this voltage divider. It can send out a signal when the battery power is getting low. And then that was what was driving all the logic on the pet that, like, turns on the low battery LED, makes the low battery symbol appear on the screen, starts saving your progress to the deeper, to the FRAM more often, because the FRAM will actually survive for... I can't remember. I know it's at least weeks. It might actually be months. That it's got to be months, because I've taken the device and, like, just plugged it in without reflashing it and had it turn back on after, like, months of not working on it. But here's the problem I have. None of that shit matters, because we're changing the entire battery hardware. And arguably the battery firmware probably will have to change to accommodate it. And I haven't selected a new battery yet. I'm thinking LiPo or lithium ion. And I'm almost thinking it would be nice to get one of those, like, really weird little thin ones, like used to be in cordless phones. I think now you get them for, like, RC cards and probably, honestly, like, drones and shit. Where they're just wee little thin bastards. And the reason I want that is I think I could make my life a lot easier if I moved the battery pack into this void space. And then on the back, we're going to have our control switches. They won't be quite like this, but we'll have our control switches. We'll have the LCD. We'll have the buttons. I'll probably redesign this so that it goes on the front instead of the back, but you get the general idea. Just because these pins is delicate, and I don't want them to get banged up if I don't have to. I would rather spend slightly more on a socketed connector here instead of the pins, and have it go together that way. Either way, I haven't picked out a battery yet, and I don't know if on a stream is where I want to do that battery shopping. So what I'm going to do instead, even though it's really boring, is I just realized that I need to design... I guess I can't design it yet. I was going to say I need to design switches, so if we go back to the spec... We come back over to the schematic here, so... Nope, that's not the spec. These two signals... So piezo is the driving signal for the speaker. We've designed that. Low battery we might not even be able to keep anymore, because we're redesigning this LCD circuit, or not this LCD circuit, but we're redesigning this circuit for the battery, so that might actually change. But debug and mute are currently controlled by switches. On the I believe they just go to ground. And on the toy, they're going to be, you know, like 0 ohm resistors, unpopulated. If you add a solder blob, or if you're like really clever and you, on the old Tamagotchi, you could actually, because of what they chose for their solder mask and how close together they put the pads for the debug jumper, you could take a pencil, because pencils are graphite, which is conductive, and you could just like scribble between the two pads, and you would bridge them and put the toy into debug mode. Or at least that was what everybody said you could do at the time when I was a kid. I don't think I ever actually tried it. But yeah, I could technically design those switches, but designing those switches is going to be part of designing... there is one more header we haven't ever really talked about on the stream. Let me get the camera back out here. Come on, camera. Hold on, I got it. For a single glorious moment, everybody gets... Okay, maybe more than a single glorious moment. Everyone gets an up-chin shot of me. Somehow this camera has gotten very twisted around the camera stand. I gotta find a way to safeguard against that, because I'm gonna damage it if I keep letting it get twisted. Anyway, this header, I hope you can see it well. So this header, it's 2x7 pins, and it separates the top portion of everything above the dotted line and everything beneath the dotted line electronically. And that matters for a couple reasons. You'll notice, actually, looking at it closely, if we'll focus, that I currently have it open, or at least partly open, and that's because the battery is not powerful enough to run the toy and the Easy Fet. This part up here is what it's a FET. So this is all hardware for translating between what the microcontroller can understand and what your USB port understands. So this is basically a programming module for the microcontroller. It can do some other stuff too. TI is very fancy because they're fancy boys. And with the current design of the dev kit, I have to electrically isolate this. Or at least I have to electrically isolate the power. So, I mean, it would be enough just to pull the ground off. I pull the ground, the 3 volt, and the 5 volt off just for, like, belt and bracers kind of approach. I need to electrically isolate that, but I might not have to... man, it's side quest hours here in the lab. You'd think I drank before the show started. One of the things I wanted to address with the single board design, because I'm pretty sure the board is coming to the top side now, was I wanted a way on the board to control the state of these pins. It didn't have to be manual switches. That's going to be a ton of wiring and it'll take up a bunch of room, and I'm worried about having the room. Like, I'm not necessarily going to find like a 7 dip switch package to like bridge these, right? It's probably more work than it's worth even trying to find that part, and it would probably be like $4 in each and all the rest of it. But I was thinking about finding ways to isolate this unit. These other pins just carry data, so it doesn't really matter if they're connected or not. If this side's not talking, they're effectively electrically dead anyway. But the math on how to do that sort of changes if the power levels that I'm generating change. Which brings me kind of back around to having to set up the battery. So yeah, I guess I gotta do that, right? So yeah, that's... I guess I just sort of talked myself into it. I have to go looking for batteries. I don't have a choice now. Right? Because until I picked a battery, I can't pick the circuits that I need to make that battery safe to use. So I guess let's go to DigiKey and see what's available for... I promise you it's a real website. Oh, of course, this is just miserable to use at this aspect ratio, but and like, I don't know, the cheap and available. That's unusual. I'm getting price unavailable in your chosen. Anyway, it doesn't. I guess what I'm kind of mostly just looking for is like, so what form factor? It kind of seems like they're all round, which is kind of nice. About 1 USD for dip switches. Yeah, I mean, it all depends. It did get funnier because I was looking for, like, I had specifically looked for a single pin, single throw. how to... No, I'm wording it wrong, but I'd found a switch that actually would bridge 7 independent connections, but you only had to move 1 physical switch. And that one was, like, ridiculously expensive, because who needs that? Who needs that at that pitch for the you know? You know what I'm noticing? I'm noticing that not a lot of the batteries for sale on DigiKey are the form factor I was thinking of. So that becomes its own flavor of interesting. Cause like I could spec in I could just spec in an 18650, but I don't think it'll fit where I want to put it, you know? Need 2 minutes to solve that. Or at least test for it. Alright, 18650 battery is 18 millimeters in diameter. Where is the... let me guess. It's 65.0 millimeters in length. Yep. Thank you, rest of the world where the metric system is frequently used. Of course my calipers are dead. Not that they're good calipers, but like... Come on, batteries. You can't be dead every time I want to use you. $357. I, in theory, have some more 357s. Yep. Todd, bless these scrambled eggs. Batteries in the lab. Now the really stupid thing here is that I should probably just know this dimension at this point. Like, the dimension I'm about to measure is kind of a standard dimension. Yeah, that ain't no 18 millimeters, so I couldn't just stick an 18650 there. I could probably, hunting hard enough, find a specialty lithium-ion battery. But yeah, there's nothing on DigiKey. Well, there was nothing on that search at DigiKey, so let's grab a new DigiKey. But again, I can't design the rest of the circuit until I pick a battery, so we're just kind of stuck doing this bit. Batteries rechargeable. It's battery clips, holders, and contacts. I want to know if there's anything right above board. Acknowledge into pattern. It's gotta be. I'm gonna say. I'm pretty consistently getting 11. Variations on 11. So if I say anything under like 10.5. Right? These are all technically valid. But some of that is going to be, yeah, because they're barely anything, right? That doesn't do shit for me. So let's...
Stand by for thread 1 about the memory pattern.
PCB through hole. That'll narrow it down. Yeah, so most of what I'm seeing that is an actual complete housing is like button cell stuff. That doesn't do it for us. So what we actually should be looking for is a battery pack of some description. Like, what's this? Weird little button top things. That's not quite what I need. And like, it's got to be a different way to parametrically skin this, right? If I... What if I just selected like the entire family of lithium? See, that's moving in the direction. But we're also doing some expensive shit, right? Something like that. I don't know why so many of these are not available in my selected currency. I assume I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume that a non-zero part of my problem is gonna be the US tariff schedules are just fucking wacky right now. Okay, we're in the right ballpark, so let's start looking at dimensions again.
End of pattern. Acknowledge.
Like, what's this one? Oh, that's weird. That's a little too weird.
Some confusion is perfectly normal at this stage, Captain. Do you have a visual signal? Stand by for thread 1 of alpha memory pattern.
Like, they totally exist. I'm looking right at them. Oh, Jesus. 14.5 volts. So the trick is going to be, obviously, to find one that's actually available. Problem is, some of these are actually even less capacity than the two AA's strapped together. No, they're not, because the AA's are in series. So they're actually more capacity. So I guess the real trick then becomes, like, why is this unavailable in my country's currency? Right? Ah, and it's 'cause some of them are coming from other vendors. Okay, that's good to know. Oh, I just realized shipping lithium batteries is going to be a goddamn nightmare. I could spec one in and just leave the connector exposed. That one sounds perfect. Which one's that one? Actually, it doesn't sound perfect at all. It sounds god-awful. Alright, so... I'm learning a few things here. I could try Mauser. I have ordered parts from Mauser before. I obviously... Nope. Showing my hobbies. No. Mauser Electronics. I prefer working with DigiKey because Mauser doesn't have a Canadian... Or maybe they do? I didn't think they had a Canadian front end. Mauser does not presently sell this project in my region. That's available in USA only. Okay, so is there a filter that I can use to exclude those? In stock and normally stocked. Apply filters. Okay, that's gonna be... Alright, so I think part of the issue must be that there's some regulation surrounding shipping these. Which is a shame. I don't think I've ever been driving in Sacramento. Interesting. Okay, so I feel like it might be time to calculate our raid. Because like we've made good headway. I need to do some shopping, which does not necessarily play nice with the stream software. Plus it's gonna be, like, to be honest, it would be hours of me staring at filter searches and not saying much. So let's go find a raid. We like to raid here on the channel. We like to go see who else is live, who else is doing what. So I'm just going to pull that up real quick. It's just taking me a little longer than usual because I'm looking for something breaking, right? Let me think. The problem is, so obviously, like a lot of people, I prefer to raid people I follow and I know, but I'm on Twitch during my workday, which is several hours ago at this point. So. I think we might actually, in that case, we might just kind of wrap it up. I'm not seeing a really relevant jump to make, and I don't want to raid someone just to raid. So, thanks everybody for swinging by tonight, and I'll talk to y'all soon. We're gonna have another stream on Thursday. It's gonna be a bit of a writing stream, sort of. It's actually slightly more fun than a writing stream. We're gonna be playing my new RPG that I just released last week, called The Game for Scribes. So I'm going to be in here with all my art supplies and a tarot deck and the rulebook, and we are going to kind of do a... It's not really going to be the final tutorial video or the final captured video or whatever, but we're going to take like a... We're just going to take some time to play it. I haven't played it in a while because I've been focused on getting it out there for y'all, so I'm looking forward to it. And I hope you're looking forward to it too. I will see you guys Thursday. Take care now.